All right, I wanted to make a video about narcissism. I haven't talked about this, I don't think very much or at all, and I haven't made a video in a while, but you guys probably all know someone that's like incredibly hard to deal with and really only sees things from their own perspective. And most people just vacate dealing with them, right? Like if you know someone that's just really difficult to deal with and they only ever see things from their own perspective and they're not logical, usually you just kind of stay away from them and you don't really associate with them. And if you have to deal with them, you limit your interaction and you just try to, again, stay as far away as you can from interacting with them. It's a little bit more challenging to do that if it's someone that's like part of your family or that maybe you work with closely or that you kind of are forced to interact with on a regular basis. And I've almost come to realize that you can't, no matter what you do with these people, they don't understand what you're saying. They are always going to say that you're wrong. They're always going to play the victim card. It's always your fault. It's never their fault. They will never objectively look in the mirror and evaluate how literally in every single situation, they are the common denominator, right? You have all these people that get along well, right? And then you have this other person that has a bad interaction or a bad experience with every single person they interact with, right? People that you interact with casually when you're at a restaurant, when you're at a library, when you're at the movie theater, when you're dealing with family, when you're dealing with people you work with, when you're dealing with people that come and do services for you. They always have a victim mentality and they get mad incredibly quickly. And a big thing is that they never can accept that they're ever wrong, regardless of the situation. And they question everything that an expert says, not like intelligent questioning, but they, even after hearing what the person has to say, they will continue to doubt that that person knows anything and that they are more qualified than the professional. So it's very difficult to deal with those people. And some of them are just not curable, meaning that you could use logic. You could have basically every single person could be against one person, meaning like, hey, we're just laying out the facts. And then the other person still doesn't get it, or they still want to stick to their guns and to their own conceited position. And I think it's more of a mental issue, right? Most people, if you're clearly wrong, right? We're not talking like gray areas here. We're talking like you've done something wrong or you're clearly in the wrong and you're making a big deal out of something that you shouldn't make a big deal out of. They still won't admit that they're ever wrong. And it's just, if it's someone that you don't necessarily have to deal with, you, again, like I said, you just don't deal with them. You just cut them out of your life and you move on. I mean, who wants to deal with that sort of person? No one does. But if it's family or it's someone that, like I said, you have to deal with, even reasoning with them, they still will not have a happy conversation or a meeting of the minds or come to a what's the word? I'm trying to think of the word. You come to an agreement with each other, and they don't do that. Everything you say, if they disagree with it, it becomes hostile. It's not a constructive conversation, and the whole thing is just way more incendiary than it needs to be. And so those people, you just don't want to deal with them. I mean, again, who wants to deal with people that blow things up out of proportion all the time? They will not listen to logic. They will never admit they are wrong. If they ever do slightly admit that they weren't 100% right, they want to use that opportunity to also say that you're wrong about something and how you did something wrong and how you didn't consider my position. And it just becomes a huge blame fest, and it's not constructive. So you guys probably know people like that, whether it's friends or family. And like I said, the easiest thing to do is just to cut them out and not deal with them, because they're not rational people. And maybe they are sick. Maybe they have a mental disease, or there's something wrong with them where in their head they actually think they're right. And again, I think a lot of people at a base level think they are decent evaluators of things. But when you have a group of people who all are laying out logic and facts, and you're the one who's not seeing it and everyone else sees it. And by the way, I'm talking about people that have no reason to dislike you, dislike these type of people. When you go to a restaurant, when you're talking to someone at a function, they have no reason to not just think neutral of you. But somehow, your personality and the way you talk to people and just your reasoning, you come off as very unlikable. And these people have no reason to not like you. They don't care about you, right? But you leave a negative impression on them because you're rude, or you're demanding of them, and you're not being kind. And even when it comes to dealing with your own family, sometimes these people will just, totally not remember that you're family and do things that are just like, you wouldn't even do these things to your worst of enemies. And they do these things without thinking about it. So for a lot of people, like I said, I think a lot of those people are actually sick, or they're mentally deficient to the point where they can't use logic and they can't ever admit that they're wrong. And you can't deal with those people. You can't really hold them to the same standard that you do a normal person. Because a normal person, if they really screw up, or they do something that was bad and that was wrong and it was really hurtful, or it was just out of line, most of the time, if they sense that it impacted someone else negatively and they weren't reasonable, they will apologize for it and they will take accountability. But narcissists and people that are sick, they never can, in their own mind, they never think they're wrong, regardless of the circumstances. And you can have total double standards. You can have it's hypocrisy at the highest degree. Like, I expect you to do things as soon as possible when I need you to do something for me, but when you're supposed to do something, or when they're supposed to do something for you, they basically treat it like they don't have to respond to you. But when they want something from you, they hold you accountable, right? But it doesn't go the other way. They expect you to do everything for them when they need something. And then if you need something, or you're trying to work together, they will not respond to you, or they will just kind of plead the fifth and do the bare minimum, because it's, in their mind, they view it as basically like, I don't want to talk to you, or I don't want to work with you, and anything that you say, well, that wasn't my idea. And that's another thing, is a lot of times if it's not their idea, they will not do it. Even if it's a logical thing, they will not want to play ball or not cooperate in any way if it's your idea. Even though your idea might be totally rational and the best course of action, they still will not want to play ball because it's not their idea. And they think if it wasn't their idea and they're not leading it, that you are manipulating it and you're trying to screw them over, which is just not true, right? But like I said, in their mind, if they're not fully in control of everything, then they will think that you're being bossy, or think that you're being manipulative and trying to make things bad for them. So that's I've realized that is that some people you just can't deal with. You have to cut them out and realize that they're sick, and they're, they don't think they're wrong, so they don't really want to seek help or get counseling, or potentially go to the doctor and see what's wrong with them. Because like I said, most people are relatively, they're in the normal distribution. Like, they're not perfect, but if they really screw up, they'll take accountability and they will admit they were wrong, and they certainly won't do it again. But these other people, these narcissistic people, they never admit they're wrong, ever. It doesn't matter what it is. They will never, ever take accountability or say they're wrong. And they always think that you're out to get them. And it's just very frustrating when you have to deal with these people. If you don't have to deal with them, like I said, you cut them out, you move on. You don't want to deal with that as you get older, or even when you're young. But if it's family, and if it's people that you have to deal with, it's tough, because unless they get fired, or unless you just completely don't want to talk to your family or anything, you have to pretty much cut them out, because they're not going to change. So anyways, I'm just rambling about it. You guys can let me know. I don't know if anyone will comment, but hope you guys have a good day. We'll see you on the next one. Take care.